Welcome to Snipisode 14 of the Daily Dose of DMC podcast. Today is Thursday, January 19th, 2023, and I'm your host, HK. Good morning, all you beautiful people, and welcome back to another Snipisode of Daily Dose, a daily dose of dedication, motivation, and commitment as we transform and work our minds, train it, grow it, and make it think more positively. Today I want to talk to you guys about how to deal with frustrations. It's a topic I think that we all face on a perhaps daily basis in a lot of different scenarios. And I just want to talk about 3 key points. And from that, I just want to spur some thought about how you can turn that frustration into positivity in the mind. And the first point is to identify the source of frustration. It's common sense. It's very straightforward. We need to be able to understand in each specific situation or challenge that we face, what is the cause of the frustration. That is the first step. It's just like when you're starting a project. What are we trying to fix here? This is what's going to help us focus on the problems. And ultimately, what is my point number 3 is we're going to be able to develop a plan of action. And in all of that, guys, it's also important to note frustration has a real impact on us. It has an impact on our thoughts and emotions, our behaviors, and it's important that we identify the patterns within those reactions because those patterns, when we're able to identify them, they're going to help us to better understand how to respond when we are frustrated. And frustration is everywhere. Even the most happiest person that I know faces frustrations on a perhaps even day-to-day basis. I mean, it can be anywhere. It could be in your job. It can be at work. Maybe you feel like you're undervalued or you feel like you're unappreciated. Your manager, your boss really doesn't care about you. You feel like you're overworked. You got such a high workload, but nobody's listening. You feel like you're underpaid for doing that work. Perhaps you feel like you're not getting the opportunities that you deserve at your workplace or at the company that you're at. Maybe it's something in a relationship. Maybe you're in a new relationship. Maybe you've been with somebody, you're married and you've been together for decades, but you feel like you're not being heard in that relationship anymore. Your partner or your spouse doesn't understand you. You're not getting that support that you need, or you feel like that relationship has just become stagnant, and that causes frustrations. Frustrations. One big one that comes to my mind is financial frustrations. A lot of people look at what's happening today with all the inflation and prices rising. It feels like perhaps maybe you feel like you're not making enough money or you're not able to save for the future because prices are rising and it's eating up your salary, and you feel like you're not able to keep up with your bills. And ultimately, like, financial frustrations, I know, leads into health frustrations. You're not able to take care of yourself. That really has an effect on you mentally and physically. And I'm sure a lot of people out there in today's society have that frustration. Frustrations are everything, guys. Are everywhere. It's technology, it's bureaucracy. If you're trying to start a company, maybe you're frustrated because you can't navigate complex regulations and all that red tape that government throws at you. And I think one that really just hits the spot with all of us, myself included, is personal goals. I think a lot of us get frustrated on a day-to-day basis. We're in 2023 now. It's January. A lot of you guys have set like New Year's resolutions, and you get frustrated that you're not able to hit those personal goals. You feel like you're not able to achieve those personal goals. It feels like you're not making any progress on those personal projects that you set out to do, and you can't. At least it feels like you can't really make a change to your life. Frustration is everywhere, all the time. But that's the first thing. We just need to identify that source of frustration. Number 2 is to take a step back and just assess the situation. When we are in the midst of being frustrated, our mind, our brain sends out all these signals, and we just get all frustrated, then it's hard to see the bigger picture. But all you got to do is you just got to take a step back and look at that situation objectively. That's what's going to help you identify the problem and potentially even possible solutions. And I know that I was recently fixing the bike of my youngest son, and there's this, I just couldn't get a piece of the brake. The inside, when you pull the brake, there's a piece, I forget the name of it, that keeps the brake cable from being too loose. And I just couldn't fix that. And it was such a simple fix. I just said, okay, after a couple minutes, I was just becoming frustrated, so I just dropped it all, stood up, took a deep breath, looked at it again, and then I was like, okay, I'm dumb. I know what I've been doing wrong. This is what the solution is, and I fixed that thing within like 2 minutes. That's literally what it took. But when we're in that midst of frustration, it's hard to see the bigger picture. So take a step back and just assess the situation, clear and simple. And lastly is develop a plan of action. You got to identify specific steps that you can take to address that source of frustration. You got to be realistic about those though, yeah? You need to create a plan that's feasible, that's easy, it's easy to implement, and just break that down into small steps. That's, just like how you're creating a habit. Manageable tasks. So that example, let's say that work environment, you feel like you're not getting a promotion or your manager doesn't hear you. What do you need to do? What is your plan of action to tackle that? Maybe it's sitting down with the manager. Maybe it's first talking to a colleague or seeking out a mentor or somebody else that can listen to you and give you some positive insights. Perhaps it's you upskilling something. Maybe it's something you think that you don't know, and you really need to upskill a specific skill for your manager to take notice or whatnot. Those are the small steps that you need to create in your action plan, and that's what's going to help you make or give you that sense of progress and accomplishment as you work through that plan. Very easy. So those are the three things when it comes to how to deal with frustrations and how they come about. And I want to jump into quickly a couple points to spur some thought about how to tackle those frustrations with a positive mindset. So basically, we're translating frustration into positivity in the mind. So number one I have is practice self-care. And you guys, you hear me talk about this a lot, but we got to reiterate these over and over again so that our minds absorb these and we can translate that automatically without even having to think about these things anymore. But practice self-care. Get into activities that you enjoy doing. Maybe if you're frustrated from work or from school, go out and exercise or meditate, do some deep breathing. Don't just sit down on the couch and watch TV. I mean, it's okay to sometimes just to relax and turn off and, stare at the box, but engage in activities that you really enjoy doing. It's all about that lifestyle day, yeah? Practicing self-care. Next is that I've noted down is seek support. You hear me talk about this a lot as well, but talk to family, talk to friends that you really trust. Perhaps even talk to a therapist about a specific situation or frustration that you're experiencing. Because oftentimes, even when we think we see it all or we know it all, others are able to provide a valuable outside perspective. Yeah, they help us see the situation in a different light. And that's the beauty of it when we seek support from others. That's so important. Next one that I have is learn from the experience. Once you've gone through a specific frustrating experience, reflect on what you've learned. Really don't just go through it, check it off and move on, but reflect on what you have learned, because then you're able to apply that to future scenarios. This is going to help you become more resilient in your mind. It's going to help you grow as a person. And as you face challenges down the road in your life, you're going to be able to apply what you've learned, what you've reflected on, into that scenario. Next is be patient with yourself. Remember, and this is something I've had to do often, over and over again, it takes time. Change takes time. Progress is slow. We see, in the work environment, when things need to shift and organizations need to change, we see this a lot, but change takes time. Transformation can't just be from today to tomorrow. It's like going to the gym. You're not going to bench press 150 kilos today or tomorrow if you've never done it before. You need to work towards it step by step. You got to have patience. You got to be gentle with yourself. And in that, you got to maintain that positive attitude so you can stay motivated as you work through that action plan that you created. And motivation, guys, comes and goes. But be patient with yourself. Next is practice positive self-talk. Be aware of those negative thoughts that you guys have or that I have. We need to reframe them. We talked about this in yesterday's Snipisode, looking at it from a different angle to just put things into a more positive perspective. We need to acknowledge the fact, acknowledge that not always, how should I put this? We should need to acknowledge our own efforts and the progress that we make, rather than just focusing on the outcome. Instead of just focusing on, I'm going to bench press 150 kilos when I go to the gym, focus on those small steps, the efforts you're putting in. You're lacing up your shoes, you're heading to the gym. You're lacing up your shoes, you're heading to the gym again. Focus on that. Acknowledge the fact that you're doing that progress. That's what that positive self-talk is. That's what's going to help boost that confidence as you progress towards your goal. Next I have is sometimes you got to learn to let go. Yeah, even some in situations you put in your best effort, but you're not going to be able to change that specific situation or a specific outcome. Sometimes we just we need to learn to just accept what we can't change and just to move on. Yeah, it's again, but that doesn't mean you don't reflect on that situation. Next I have is take responsibility for your actions. Recognize the fact that the power to control your own thoughts and your emotions and your behaviors is one of the sole things I believe nature has instilled in us. Yeah, we have that one specific power, but take responsibility. Take responsibility for your own happiness, for your own well-being. We as humans tend to point fingers and show how it's everything but us, but sometimes we just need to take responsibility for our actions, and I see that a lot in today's society. This is going to help you shift. Yeah, will really help you shift your mindset towards really just being more empowered and helping you take control of your personal life. The next point is stay flexible. I believe that we as humans, we're kind of creatures of habit. Once we're set in stone about the way we do things or how we think about something, it's very difficult to break out of that. And even people that think they're open are not really open. So hence I encourage you, be flexible. Think about this. Be open. Just be open to new perspective, to new ways of thinking. A different approach or just a change in your perspective will sometimes lead to new solutions, especially in frustrating situations. So just be flexible. Be open. And lastly, I have practice gratitude. You hear me say this a lot. Make it a habit of just focusing on the things that you're grateful for. Even when you are frustrated, shift your mind and reduce those feelings of frustration by just practicing that gratitude. It's important, guys. Yeah, in all of this, it's just important to remember that when you're dealing with frustration, it is, like all things, a continuous process. It's normal. It's a natural part of life. We all experience it day in, day out. Like when I'm trying to fix that pipe recently, and it's something that just takes time to see results. Like I said with that gym example, I hope that some of these points spur some thought, that helps you develop some coping mechanisms when it comes to managing frustrations in a more constructive and effective way. But I just want to also note that, remember, we're all different. Some of the things that I pointed out here may help you and may not help you at all. Yeah, but what works for one person, like I say, doesn't necessarily work for the other. But just experiment. Yeah, try different techniques, try different strategies, and see what works best for you when it comes to but how to deal with frustrations. My apologies. Yeah. I hope this has been helpful. With us reaching the end of today's Snipisode, I just want to ask you guys, what are ways you deal with frustrations? How do you encounter situations in life, those frustrating moments? How do you dwell on them? What do you do? Hit me up, let me know. If you're listening to this on YouTube, comment. Otherwise, reach out to me if you're listening to this on Spotify. Guys, that being said, stay dedicated, motivated, committed all day, every day.